flag of the United States of
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A lot to cover today. Approval of the agenda. We got minutes.
Go ahead and read the agenda and I'll come back to comment.
Okay. Minutes, president's remarks, reports. Golf Council, Dave Stevens, resolution review MR1, and report, Dave Stevens. Elections Committee, final report. Butler, Elections Committee, election schedule 2013. Judy Butler, Advisory Committee, report summary and highlights. Tom Terry, General Manager's report. Public comment. Old business. Discussion, General Manager's quarterly report, plans for board resolution 02, by Dave Stevens. Discussion, next steps of OPA facilities plan. Thompson, Ocean Line Budget Finance Committee recommendations, Terry Moore. Discussion, the role of advisory committee, Sharon O'Hare. Committee appointments, Tom Terry. CPI actions, there are.
Yes.
There's two. Okay. Media questions, and then adjournment to closed session for consultation with corporate legal counsel. Submitted Dan Statersky. Any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir, there are. Approval of minutes, list to come. There are two sets of, there's one regular and one special meeting set of minutes out there. October 27th is not yet complete in terms of correction. That presented to the board in January.
Okay.
The special meeting held on November the 6th, you have a copy of it. The board received that via email yesterday. It's only pages. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to take a look at that, so we can approve that. So there's one set of minutes, November 6th special meeting to be approved. Under reports, Elections Committee Board election schedule, that will not be Butler.
Okay.
And under the next steps in the OPA facilities plan, Bob Thompson, there were comments from three directors, specific comments on Mr. Thompson's first set of recommendations. Mr. Clark's copy is not in your packet, although you all received it in the email, I believe yesterday. I apologize, Marty, that there's not a hard copy in the package. We ran out of trees.
I can believe it. I do have a hard copy.
Okay. Well, everybody else has seen that.
Sure.
Yes, so those are my comments.
Okay. And we'll just take a moment and take a look at the minutes from November 6th. If you haven't had a chance to do them yesterday, or we can delay the approval list next board one. If you just got them.
I prefer I haven't had.
We'll hold off the approval days till next. Special comments. I started with the word special because we lost a very special member of our community recently, Art Sachs. Great guy, very, very involved in the community, board of directors, Anglers Club, many different activities. He will be missed. It's just when you lose someone who's been involved like that, as deeply as he was and as much as he cared for Ocean Pines. I just want to make sure the board recognized his passing and wish he and his family is well, and just thank Art for everything he did while he served her. Others want to make comments? So,
Well, you can blame Art for me being on the board of directors. He talked me into running in 07. Great. We never agreed on much, but he was a great guy and a real friend to the Ocean Pines.
Yeah, if I may, I served on the liaison to the comprehensive planning. And I had not only a chance to see what wildlife was, but I also had a vision to what they had done. It's a substantial body of work. And he was largely reason.
I had the opportunity as sitting as president of the board to actually point Artisac to that chair position. And his committee did an extraordinary amount of research into the thinking and desires and centers of facilities that's to a certain degree still affecting our plan, how it's part has been modeled for a lot of us here. Sorry.
I picture art in my mind. I picture that big smile. And jump in. Yeah, surely.
Art, you'll be looking down on us. Now you can really get at us at the end. Thank you, Peter. The other remark I want to make, and I just want to draw attention to community's response to the relief effort. Communities are ended up 4 different locations in New Jersey for the Sandy response. I've never been more proud of the community in my life, how fast that around for the staff, how you guys pulled this off, and sharing, going on the trip, experiencing.
I had fun.
And,
it wasn't enough to leave afterwards.
It just, to me, that this says what Ocean Pines is. That's the kind of community we got. Whatever else happens around the community, all the noise that goes on all the time. The reality is that's who makes up this community. Is people who will do things like that at a moment's notice. I found it very moving. Not one bit surprised that you did it, that it happened. Not surprised at all. Very pleased. Thank everybody who pulled that off. And look forward to having the next storm miss us as well, and we can do it again. People need. That's a bit tongue-in-cheek. The reality is it was a tremendous effort. Moving on to reports. Golf Council, Dave Stevens. I get 3 separate documents here.
Yeah, they're all short, and they hope that the board will scan through just to see what the Golf Council is up to. I might mention the Golf Council is elected by members of the golf club and consists only of members. They elect their own board, and basically they take them. They do a lot of things that are community oriented. Junior golf scholarships, fundraising, as well as interacting with the Billy Casper people about the conditions of golf they see. I'd say as a group, they play and are more familiar with the Ocean Pines Golf Course than any other group of Ocean Pines they serve. And they are not formal advisory. And that is, I believe, a gap that we have in our organization. But on the other hand, I should point out, and I've talked about former President Bill Hitt, Ron Ryder, who was just recently elected. They both felt very strongly that, although it is a members group, they invite anybody who's interested in Ocean Pines Golf to attend their meetings and make comments.
Yeah, and looking this over, they raised over basically $17,000 worth of fundraising, sponsor scholarships and various activities around the community. So, any questions, Dave?
There's one other comment about what's going on with this group that's noteworthy. And it's 2 people in Fern's Grill bumped into some real serious illnesses, and the golf community, these folks raised a remarkably large amount of money to help these people pay some of their medical bills. It's not
example of the type of people who live. Any other questions?
I did hear yesterday from Bill that they're doing Toys for Tots, they're doing a chili cook-off, and correct, you're gonna have to help Bill. If you take a toy over there between 4 and 7 on Friday,
Actually, you can take the toy anytime this
Anytime.
week, right? But they're having a happy hour 4 to 7 Friday night. Hopefully, you'll bring a toy. Charles, the chef there, is in the chili cook-off at the Green Turtle on Sunday, and votes for his chili go by the amount of toys, not the amount of the amount of toys or actual votes. For his
Where is
chili.
it, Bill? Where?
The happy hour is at the Turner Grill.
Turnsboro. Okay.
Friday 4 to 7, but you can drop a toy off anytime of the week. And then Sunday's chili cook-off, 3 o'clock over at Green Turtle.
I hadn't heard about that.
I was hoping we could get some more.
Yeah, right.
Get some more toys going.
The toys for Todd. That was kind of meaning important for the toys. So that.
Okay, resolution review, MO1, MO4. Dave Stevens.
Yes, basically they're included in your package. This is we're required to do all of the resolutions once every 2 years. Generally, it's back there and the Constitutions Committee use it and we send it to the board with some notes or suggestions. But they're in there for the board members. Board members who have other comments or wish, suggest changes, can do so. And other than that, I mean, unless there are any changes, Jim will send it back or saying, we officially complied with the review. Morning.
When do you want those suggestions? Now or you? I've already sent.
I think it's, I think the best way is to do it by email, unless there's really a discussion, in which case it brought up. Do you have any comment on it?
If there are board comments, I think it should be made.
Okay.
My suggestion is hold off the next meeting, say what there's to say.
Right. But in the meantime, passing those comments out to the board so when we get here, we can.
All right, so prior to the next agenda going out, each board member please review these two documents, MO1 and MO4, share your thoughts amongst folks, and then we will hear those suggestions.
Man, while you're reviewing them, so you'll know what I've already sent to Jim, just to look at it at the same time. I of course voted against this in 09, I think it was, but it talks about violations. It really doesn't say anything about continuing violation, which is established by the board. If this document is going to be hand in hand with our DRs, only the board can find somebody in violation.
Continue.
Well, call it whatever you want. Any other kind of violation doesn't count.
Okay. All right. Yes, go ahead.
One final comment, if I may. I don't want to exclude the general manager. That's came out with the Bob Thompson also. Staff played a role in this resolution. Indeed, the participation, comments, may be appropriate to staff.
I mean, I certainly have no objection to that. No, okay, good. So, Jackie. The election committee final report. Judy.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Judy. Hi, Judy.
few months. And when I started to write this report, I thought, oh my goodness, the detail involved is quite extensive. I'm not going to go through it. You have the report in front of you. So I'm not going to go into detail. This will just give you highlights and then read it. This is our committee. And we did have a few volunteers that helped us along the way. We operate under the guidance of the bylaws, Resolution C-08 and Resolution M-06. That's how we run this committee, and we stick to it very closely because we have to. The election is not something to take lightly. These were the election results. As you can see, that eligible indicates the members who are paid up the zero balance as of 35 days from the date and meeting. And I believe there are a lot of members in this community that don't understand that. So the consequence is after we mail out those ballots, which this roughly falls on the calendar around the July 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th time frame. And we get many calls for the rest of the month of July asking us why they didn't get a ballot. And they don't understand that if they haven't paid, even if they paid after that date, they don't get a ballot because it has to be on that date. So our total votes were 7,286. Machine counted 7,797. And then we had a few. A manual ballot means that the machine kicked it out, and then we have to judge it as a committee as whether valid or not. As you can see, we do reject if the ballot isn't valid. And this voided ballot account is relatively large this year, and that is the result of the proxy. So it was a new year for proxies, and many people did not, although it's stated in the letter, they did not understand, it's stated in the voting instructions that a ballot is not valid unless it's mailed back or handed back in that envelope. It has their section and lot on it, because that's the only way we can track the ballot. So those voided ballots were the result of putting them in the envelope that said proxy, not in the election. And we were very specific about putting proxy on that envelope, but that's a learning process. So this was the first year, and it'll get better, I believe. The referendum results, as you can see, we had more eligible members at the time of the ballot mail out for the referendum. It was a month later. And our total vote count was considerably more, so the community was quite engaged. To have received 5,000 and more, 5,000 plus ballots was quite a good response, and I would love to see that response to the election too. So that's our goal for the future. Again, the rejected ballots, this time it was quite fascinating. Many of them were rejected because they didn't choose to mark yes or no on the ballot. They chose to mark yes or no on voting instructions and send that sheet of paper back. So again, we have some education to do on that process too. Process improvements that we've done in the election committee in the last 2 years. We have a final document formulated now for contracts. We started it in 2011. Now have a formal document. Had a lot of help. Committee helped. Dan helped. My husband, Tom Butler, also helped. He was busy with contracts for many years in his work life. We send an RFP to 3 printer companies. Lisa does that. She does a good job with that. Minuteman Press was awarded the contract this year. The supervision of this process of a contract is spelled out as a function of the election committee in the bylaws and 06. The proxy, last year the board of directors okayed the idea of a proxy form. So this year, Dan took the draft to the lawyer. The lawyer worked through with compliance from the board of directors in May. We finalized it in time for the election voting package in July. Quorum proxy only. Now this is something that we'd like to tweak a little bit. We'd like the proxy form to say quorum proxy form only. It was misunderstood by a large part of the community. We got many, many calls. Many people were concerned that this proxy form was tied to their vote for the board of directors. And they were very concerned about that. And so we need to be more specific in this process to let them know that the proxy form is only. Unfortunately, the bylaws require us to send out notice of the annual meeting, the same package that we send out voting material. And so proxy has to go along with that. So we have to figure out how to carefully put it into the package so that they understand that the proxy is for the meeting and has nothing to do with the vote. We have some suggestions in our report as to how perhaps we can make that better. And one of the things we'd like to do is title it quorum proxy, because in the future, if a proxy is used for any other reason, it would be different. And that, I guess, is understood when the lawyer and the board of directors drew that up. The eligible member master list that we had problems with last year, we uncovered something that apparently had been going on for many years, but it was not identified. We did identify it after the election last year and made sure that it would never happen again. And it is part of the contract to the printer, and that is our quality. So that was done. All the address rejections were caught. No one missed their ballot to get that. And that, I think, is a very positive thing to say. That the whole community got the ballots if they were eligible. Last year we requested that Bob Thompson designate a staff member. That was a very important step for the duplicate ballot process because, as you can understand, if someone requests a duplicate ballot, that has to be very, very critically important that we know what that duplicate ballot is for and legitimate. Otherwise, it's fraud. And so we have to have a staff member who understands this process. And Ruth Ann does very well, Ruth Ann Myers, and she also is very familiar with members of the community. And she has a good knowledge, working knowledge of the computer system and the program. So she is an excellent assistance in that process, and the duplicate ballot process is in very good control. The budget, we started last year. Because we started with a contract, we are able now to track the budget. And you have the budget in front of you. We can go over it right now, or you can just look at it and see. It is good to know how much it costs for the printing. We're still a little vague on some of the material processes.
Hold on a second, Judy. What page?
It's at the back page, the last page of your, it's actually a loose sheet at the back. Okay. As you can see, we've tracked both the election and the referendum this year. And the numbers speak for themselves. Now, I did not include in this because it's not part of the election committee what it costs to do the referendum of the board costs. I simply included in here the mailing, postage, etc., that would be under the election committee responsibility. I believe the reply postage will probably, is a flexible number, probably change a little bit as time goes on. because the bills keep coming back in. What the reply postage is the envelope that goes out in the voting package has a return on it, and that's what you're paying for. Is that? Scantron machine worked very well. I think that Dave must have had maintenance done on it to the tune of $678 this year, and it ran very smoothly for both the referendum and the election. So all in all, this is a good idea. It gives you a good idea of what it costs to do in 1 year. Not too bad. The print contractor, the referendum printing, of course, depends upon what you put in that pack. That is the choice of the board of directors. The other one, the election contract printer, that's a pretty standard cost. That involves pretty standard stuff. 4 pages, the candidate information, the letter to the voting instructions, letter about the end. And this year, of course, there was a proxy form and an extra envelope. Now, we brought this up, the committee brought this up to the board last year. We had such a busy year, we weren't able to concentrate on this. But again, it is still something I think is important. The process in this community is that communication, that includes voting materials, that includes notice of the annual meeting, that includes newsletters. All of that only goes to the person, first name on the land record. So if there are multiple owners, the rest of the owners get nothing. And I do not personally think that that is something we should do. When you look at the mandate for the election committee in the bylaws and in MO6, we are mandated to make sure that all members know about election. And so we're not doing that if we don't send to other people who are owners. We recommend that in the future, the election committee have...
Hold on a second. Have a little side conversation going.
Oh,
There's is a conflict. There's to be your mandate. You're supposed to do it.
There's one vote for every lot.
correct.
Period.
Correct.
Sound like NV, one people,
Correct.
one corporation.
Correct. And I'm not disputing that.
And our articles of incorporation are pretty clear when they say that such notice shall be deemed delivered when deposited in the United States mail addressed to the member at his address as it appears on the records of the association, which is really their responsibility. If we dig them out of court records, I think we've gone the next step that really need to be made. Then it goes on in 4 to say a voting member shall be entitled to 1 vote for each numbered residential lot. It's up to them to fight over who pulls the trigger. I don't think we want to get involved in that.
Okay, well, I agree with you that there's only 1 vote. But I am not so certain that we should let them know that there's an annual meeting coming up, that we shouldn't give them a newsletter and let them know that what's going on in the community, especially that summer newsletter that has the candidate information in it. So this is perhaps a philosophical question. Yes, I agree. But I think that those owners have the right to know about this information. They cannot vote. You're correct. Only 1 vote for land. Yes.
Yeah, if I may, I think the newsletter is an entirely different animal. And if the administration chose to send it out to, you wouldn't even know about it. As I understand, the newsletter pays for itself right now. I certainly have objection to doing that in. And that would take care of
That
your
would take
issue
care of it. Yes, it would.
notification.
But they are not getting that. Yes, that would take care of it because that information is in the newsletter, the summer package.
Should we be concerned about sending the newsletter to every individual timeshare, which is huge?
Huge.
Huge. Borderlinks times 52. I mean, at least a third of Borderlinks is timeshare.
Well, the timeshare issue, I don't know about because I didn't even know we had a timeshare.
Oh yeah, we have lots of timeshares.
But, I'm talking about, are they considered owners of...
1 vote.
Well, who
one
owns the time? All of
No. They get to vote 152nd, or whatever their week is.
All right, the
That's
issue,
between them.
Yeah, the timeshare, I'm not sure about. That's
One vote.
another.
your committee is recommending that while we make sure I understand it, that you're certainly not going to violate the one vote per
No.
owner.
No, they would not get a ballot or anything
However,
like
you
that.
have a mandate, what you're told to do is to notify all owners. If you're in B position, C position, the D position on the deed, you are still termed an owner. You don't have the voting right, but you're still a member. Excuse me, not a member. So we'll take this under advisement. It's
Right.
citizen advice. We'll pick it up later. I think it's something worth. At the very least, I think, as Dave said, we got to take a look at the newsletter and see what we can
Yes.
do with that.
At the very
Okay.
least, some communication to them.
Thanks, you.
Yes. Now, we have a few procedure changes that I believe some of you are familiar with these anyway. Of course, this communication, if you were to agree to a separate letter to the landowners that are not the first named owner, we would have to have an MO6 change. But let's go on to procedure changes. The change in the MO6. Now this, I believe it was in 2010 that the resolution was reviewed. I was not on the committee at that time, but there was a miss in that the bylaws say the Cattle Link application deadline is May 10th. The MO6 does not say that, and it needs to be changed. So that is one change. The other change that is a little bit confusing, and we studied it a bit, and we do need to follow the bylaws. So additional candidates could file up to the first Friday of July. Again, that needs to be corrected in the MO6. Now, there was one statement that is a restriction to the committee, and actually, since I've been on the committee, we have not been able to meet this rule. There's a statement that says for 10 days after the candidates are announced, we are to meet with them, and that just doesn't happen. We can't get to them before the end of May. So we would like to remove that restriction of a 10-day timeline. Generally, the candidate draw is usually the second week of June, and it's been that way apparently for a while, so just like to remove that. Another part of the function of the election committee is to identify every member who comes to the annual meeting.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Nick, could you clarify what you would like to see that to be?
It's in the report, but we
I'm
just
looking
want
at
to
As soon as
remove.
possible, you just want to keep it open-ended, because that's
Yeah.
as soon
Yeah.
as possible.
Right. The identification cards, we are required by the rules, bylaws, to validate every member who comes to the annual meeting. That's a function of the election committee. Well, this year we discovered that people were handing us these brand new ID cards as identification. They do not have their name, their section, or their lot on the ID card. Only thing on there is a picture. So they are not a valid ID to be used for an annual meeting or a vote for membership. So we had to then ask for a driver's ID. Now the old yellow cards, they did have name, section, lot on. So we need to review that. We request an improvement on that. We don't know how you would do it, but they are not a valid ID or identification of a member to vote on any.
If I can interrupt for a second, Bob,
Yes.
the magnificent stripe on the back does connect to that information.
That's correct.
So what we need to do is provide the election committee with stripe reader.
Possible as a solution, yes.
That's one
Yeah,
solution.
one to scan, you notice
Or
there's also
actually
the
print it on there, one or the other.
notice there's the barcode on the back, the barcode and
Right.
scan. We have a lot of bits of information on it. So, yeah, we'll take a look at that.
of course, I mentioned this before, we'd like to make sure that the proxy says quorum proxy to avoid confusion. Some administrative problems. The committee was concerned that the forum was not advertised enough. We will make that a mandate next year to make sure that it is. We know that the key employee is gone that knows the Scantron machine. So that's historical knowledge that is not here. So we need to make sure that that is rectified, especially since although the committee can learn how to use the Scantron, the committee's turnover is pretty constant. And I don't know that that's a good idea that the committee know that. I'd rather see a key employee know. The proofing process for the voting material needs to be improved somewhat. Referendum process, marketing was good, but the voting process was too rushed. Mistakes were made. I had to do a quality control check on the referendum process because there was a mistake made. It turned out to be not a major mistake, but on the return envelope, the section and lot were reversed. So I had to pull random envelopes. I took 20 as a basic number and pulled randomly from the list of envelopes that we had, the package of envelopes. And Teresa and I double-checked them in the computer system to make sure that that was a clean reversal, that it simply was the S and the L changed over. And in every case it was, and so we did not have to worry about it. And I did keep that data information. It's locked up with the voting stuff. We did have a little issue with staff behavior, and although this did not impact the election, it did complicate the election for us, the committee, and also for the public. And so that needs to be remembered and not happen again. The election committee, we won't let this happen again, but found themselves without a list of the eligibility lists for the election. And we should have two lists, one by name, one by section lot, for when call us for information because of whatever, the dog ate the ballot, whatever happens. And we always want to make sure that the security of the stored election material, that cabinet remains locked and that the key is secure. The printer contractor. Just for your general knowledge, this is what's in the contract that we give to the contractor, to the printer. He prints the ballots and the voting material, uses a security envelopes, prepares the packaging for mailing, delivers to the post office by a specific date, checks the list to make sure that no addresses are lost. That's called the NCOA list. Picks up the return ballots from the post office on a continuous routine until the deadline. Opens, removes, secures ballots, retains envelopes in order to allow review, and delivers all items on the date of the ballot count. So it is a considerable amount of work that the contractor does. And he did an excellent job this year. He was very good, attentive to our needs, and didn't make any problems. The election went smoothly. The referendum was fine, too. And in fact, we have to give him kudos because in the end I couldn't have employees from the staff help us for the count of the referendum, and so I had to ask for some help from the printer contractor, and he brought with him from Glen Burnie 2 employees to help that day. Our initiatives for next year, we want to do a little better plan with the news releases. We have a phased plan designed, and we've followed that through. We would like to do an information packet this spring because we think that the election is an important process in this community. It means that you all sit in those seats. You have lots of important decisions to make, and so we'd like to see more activity. If we can get 5,000 people out to vote for a referendum, we should be able to get them out for an election. Better communication with more members, that means all members. And we would like to use the same postcard mailing process that general manager used this year. I thought that was very effective. It is an opportunity to remind people of the election by mail when many people don't use email and don't live here. And those people don't get this information. And we're thinking of doing it prior to the forum, so you have more participation in the forum. Improving the forum process is always something that we quest to do. We had a recommendation from a candidate that we should allow a segment of candidate ask candidate, and we probably add that. We need to streamline and improve the proxy validation process. Now that's a challenge. I took that upon myself with my husband this year because we received over 500 proxies. Now none of those proxies could be validated without being checked. So the process of making sure that every proxy was correct and checked against the eligibility list took some time. So I have to figure out how we can do that better. And Scantron in service so that the election committee knows would be probably a good idea. Any questions? Yes.
Judy, you've done an excellent job. Your team, I want to thank you. I did have two things come up for the type of business I'm in. In real estate, if you have sold your property during that time frame when the ballot was mailed and due, who votes?
Well, if the owner is the owner after the eligibility list, they're going to have to work that out with the previous owner, because we won't know that.
I understand you probably wouldn't know. So if the owner either voted, the owner of record at the time, the eligibility, he has the opportunity to vote. If he chooses not to, he can pass it on.
Correct.
But they still are allowed to vote.
Yes, if they're an owner. Legitimately, we would need to know that. And that's what that hotline...
How do we let you know that?
We have a telephone number. It's published with the voting package, and they can call. That is monitored from the day the voting package goes out until the deadline. Our members monitor that daily, or once a day. They take all phone calls. If it's a duplicate ballot that needs to be released, then the committee member authorizes Ruth Ann to...
Okay, that's important to know that, and I think we need to somehow mention that if you are selling your property, give this 30-day, 45-day window what happens.
Yes.
It happens.
And it's because that's a special exception situation, that needs to just be discussed at the election.
Second question is, if we have many, many summer residents here in Ocean Pines that are here during the summer vote, their mail's going back to wherever they live.
Yes.
And how do you handle that? That's a problem I hear every year.
This year it was a particular problem because of the referendum, and people were very, very anxious to vote. If they were a validated member, eligible, and etc., we will issue them a duplicate ballot. And the way we check those duplicate ballots is last year I bought stamps that say duplicate, red stamps. And we stamp every envelope that says duplicate. And then the day of the counting, every duplicate envelope is not opened by the printer contract. We don't allow that. We open those, and we double check them against the whole batch of envelopes that he brings. Make sure that it hasn't been voted blank. Now, we have caught that very action where someone called and said, I need a duplicate ballot because I'm not going back home. And they got a duplicate ballot, but they did indeed vote. We have to do that. But that's one of those things we do on that day.
Perhaps on the list of instructions, you have unusual circumstances. You're a summer resident, you're not here, or you're selling your property that they need to contact. I mean, people need to know. I got all kinds of, obviously.
Well,
I'm sure the rest of us do.
It is actually on the voting instructions.
Is it on the instructions? Then I
Call
guess I missed
us, and they have the number. The number's listed in the newsletter. It's listed on the voting instructions. But I'll take your suggestion. We'll look at that instruction, maybe clear. We'll do that. We're always open to those suggestions because, we're getting the phone call.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nope. Okay. Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Judy.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you and your whole committee for your solid work. Thank you. Elections Committee Board Election Schedule 2013.
This is a very short report. I just wanted to tag on back to Judy's excellent report, and that is that the Elections Committee has set up a draft schedule for 2013. Begins on May the 10th with the application deadline for candidates. That means that we, the board, have to sometime between now and January put together a selection committee or recruiting committee or whatever you call it. There is an official name that is on the top of the head.
Search committee.
Search committee, thank you, sir, to assist people who might be interested in running or get moving. The election itself the ballots will go out on July the 12th, and August 10th is the annual meeting. The vote will be counted August 9th, 8th, just gives you some quick dates. This will be published and on the both online and sent to the board as it's better solidified. Right now, it's just a draft. Again, all I wanted to do was to tell everybody who's sitting here at the board table, you folks, we got to put together a search. Need to do it during the holidays and early January.
Dan, what is the procedure in the past for that, since I...
President is responsible for appointing chairs and pretty much vetting who's going to go on the committees like this, although the board has something to say about it. Just, I'm suggesting we will start now.
The president basically obtains a list of candidates and sees the vice the senator. In much the same way as any other.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Advisory Committee Annual Report Summary. Really going to link this into Sharon's new business topic later. The Advisory Committee just wanted to draw an attention to the mail that came to each of you from Michelle Bennett, giving you a listing of those committees that have finished and completed their evaluation. Elections Committee basically just presented their evaluation to us. So you should all have in your emails the self-evaluation that we all asked them to do. And I will link this to the Sharon's conference later. Advisor for its status for all. That's what we want to do. And we'll move on to Bob Thompson, General Manager.
Trees.
All right, GM report for the month. I have a lot to cover for two reasons. One, we don't have a meeting in December. And two, I wanted to give a little bit of an update on the financials in a little greater detail than just the monthly reports that we usually give. So I'm going to go ahead and lead off, and I'd like to knock this set of lights down here just so it's easier for everybody in the audience to see. Is that too dark for you?
A little dark over here. Yeah, sorry.
Does that help? You see? Does that help the screen? Yeah.
Couple things I want to go over with you. Let's start with by the numbers. This is for the end of the month for October. I'm going to kind of lead with the numbers since that's going to be the hottest issue right now. This is the monthly numbers. I always do a kind of a wrap up. I put it in this format. You get the monthly financial statements, controller's report. What I do is I just grab basically the operational side of the house. Keep in mind that there is also the capital and debt items that are on your yellow sheet this month, but they're not included in these numbers. I don't want anybody to get, mistakenly say he didn't include that. It's the same one I give every month. If you look, starting at the top, admin, the variance is a positive 40. Public Works, positive 88. Public Safety, which is police, positive 4. Recreation, positive 33. Aquatics, we have a negative 74. Now, what this number is a variance to budget. And we're going into a little more detail on these. But I would like to draw your attention for the aquatics number, and Dan, you always point this out. The actual is still positive, but the variance, it's still positive to budget, right? Or positive to actual. This last column is the variance to the actual budget. But we're still in a positive of almost $19,000 in aquatics. Golf, which includes the F&B operations at the golf club, is currently at 314 variance to budget, 136 for the actual. Yacht club, 100,000. Actual is 19. I'm going to break these down in a little more detail on the two, because as pointed out by Mr. Stevens in an email, and I'm going to just briefly cover it. I'm not going to go into great detail because it is on the agenda for a discussion item. But I didn't want to miss two of the areas that I've had a lot of questions about recently. Aquatics, looking at where we are right now with the aquatic side of the house. Memberships are down. If you look at actual year-to-date, budgeted difference, what I've done here is I've shaded the right two because I also want to give you a comparison to last year at the exact snapshot, exact time frame. So if you're looking, we're actual 245 versus budgeted 266. We're about 21,000 down in memberships. However, on a positive note, our coupons and our cash fees, so the daily and people coming in to buy coupons, is up. Again, I think it's a direct sign of the times. People are rethinking how they're spending their cash with everything being tight right now, and some are electing to use the pools just differently. Instead of signing up for a membership, they're using cash or as they go. Pool contract, we're within $750 for the first 6 months of where we were last year. The other big area that which we were prepared for, we knew this was going to happen when we made some changes with our contracts, was our swim class. We revamped our swim program in the way that we're doing our swim classes. You all are aware of that. What that has done, though, is had a negative variance to budget. We had budget, or we actual was about 40,000. We had budgeted 81, so we're 42 off. If you compare the actuals to last year, okay, when you're looking at the two, $23,000 difference. So just giving you a snapshot, I want you to see where the variance was year over year. So the total is about 31,000 compared to last year difference. It's 50,000 off the budgeted number. This is for the revenues for the first 6 months of the year. We go to the expenses. This is where we've had some success in the expense side. Okay? We have found, this is an area, when I say success, we're actually pretty much on the number we were last year. We have tried 3 different ways from a personnel standpoint to manage the budget for the wages. We have regulations we have to follow when it comes to managing pools. COMAR regulations, how many people you have to have on deck, how many lifeguards, certified pool operators. We have tried it. This is the 3rd year where we tweaked the way we manage that. The numbers keep coming out roughly the same when it comes to the wages, and you can see year over year, if you look at $299 is what our actual, it was $300. There's a $700 difference. Not significant. So what we need to do this year, and we're already working with the budget, we just have to pump the wages up to what we've got a running history up to show, keep those, all 5 pools open for X period of time, here's what the costs are. Where we have seen some improvements. Supplies end up being, actuals 5244, we're off about 7,500. But if you look at the 52 versus 51 last year, we're exactly where last year number was. Here's where we've seen some significant improvements. Maintenance. Our maintenance cost, 18,000. We had budgeted 28. We're 10 better. And if you compare it to last year, we had budgeted slightly higher from this year, or from 2011 to the year we're in. We've actually improved in both areas. Part of that is the Tom, with the way he's running the pools, his CPOs, certified pool operators, are more engaged in running the pools. We're relying less on the additional services of Public Works, in particular Novi and Clint, come out and put that additional cost to it. Yes, sir.
Soleil was supposed to have the report ready yesterday, and
I'm not even to that yet. No, I don't have that report, but we're not even there yet. I'll talk about that coming up.
Nice to know at least one director knows something about it.
Okay. The utilities, our utility cost 57. We had budgeted almost 90. We're 32,000 ahead on that. If you compare where we are now versus last year at the same time, there's an improvement there as well. What we found, and again, going back to the staff, Tom did a good job. He contacted the folks that actually, for the pool, the heater, and how the pool's heated to include the cover. Talk with the manufacturers specifically how to run them, how to get more efficiency out of them. He has found ways to be able to turn the heater off for the water and scheduling his opening and closing of that top to get the circulation of the air very differently this year. And that's where we're seeing some significant savings. Unfortunately, you won't have as big a savings when you're on the winter months. We're not opening that top. Other costs, that's all other put in. We're still running, positive variance there as well, positive to last year. Totals, that's a negative balance, of course. But with these in the brackets, that shows that we've made the improvements of the areas that we can directly put our hands on. Area that we didn't do so well is our man, right there, our wages, our manpower. It's just 3 years in a row. They are what they are. So if you look at revenues versus expenses and totals, net results, we're about 6,500 ahead of last year's numbers. We're 19,000 for the positive right now, compared to 12,000. Yet we're 74 off of the actual budgeted number. And the vast majority of that is made up right here in our wages. We now, moving forward when we do our budget, this is the number we have to work with. Questions about aquatics?
So just about breaking even with last. I mean, I know the 6,000, but this is at the end of the year. It's a very one way. Yeah. That's about even. And I guess I'd have to look back because we've had 2 years of floods when we compare it to last year. How does that 299 here, you say?
I didn't go too far back. I just went right to the easiest was last year. It was on the report that you have in your hand.
This is the standard report. We always see next year-to-date comparison. Well, I'm just wondering how much room there is for you're sort of saying, it is what it is. And I'm wondering if it is what it is.
I think Marty's got numbers.
David, if you take the 18,930 and compare it to 2010, 2010, 46,914, that's 27,180 behind 10.
Okay. And a lot ahead of last year. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not a little bit. No, about a little bit ahead of last year, behind 10. How did the wages look?
Wages are the same as last year.
No.
All I have is the bottom.
Oh, you only got the bottom. Okay.
I didn't want to bring my roll apart.
I'm not.
No, it's good.
I can go back and look at it myself.
No, I took the last because it was what you'd have the backup for there. Basically, where we could make the improvements with the maintenance, with how we're handling the scheduling, those type of things, we've made them, and you can see the improvements in the bottom line on the budget. Where the areas that we were hurt the most, memberships were down, which did, if you remember, it's almost $21,000. Classes were dramatically down. They're the two that hurt us aquatics-wise this year. If we had had those up, we'd have been even better off than 19 to the positive right now. But we knew we were changing our programming, going at it from a different angle.
So coming at it from the new angle, would you expect to see like next year, say the class?
Our swim classes should be, yes, we've seen improvements as the middle of the summer moving forward. We have seen improvements with our swim classes, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Are we doing swim classes this fall, so numbers will change?
Yeah, this is a snapshot through October, the first 6 months of the year.
We are picking up swim classes.
We offer swim class, yes, swim classes,
okay.
yes.
Budget rough year though too. So the converse could be true. You're not going to pick up. You're going to lose points. Get the budget full, higher the actual.
But our swim classes are improving in attendance now. We now have a new program in place with new instructors.
So we're going to see the program results right today.
Hoping to see them as the winter goes on as well, yes.
Good.
When we get to
Any part of this report give us the forecast?
Yes.
That's the cup.
So the net I'm taking away from this, Bob, is when you get into the budgetary process, just look at wages and salaries. We're just going to have to make it is what is it.
Yeah, yes, I mean, if you look at it is what it is to open. When you have 5 pools open for the hours that we have with the Comar requirements, yes. And I will tell you, and it's a little hard to, again, because I watch this closely, when you peel back the onion, we're actually performing a little better in the wage area than it's reflected there because we've got another staff person full-time that's hired in that role that's now handling the swim classes and those type of things. So that's been absorbed in there, and we're still apples to apples, comparing it. And that's where we've seen the programming changes, which is what we said we were going to do to make the improvements. Okay, the other one that's the big one, Yacht Club. Let's talk about that. What we did was, and again, you had this snapshot on the first page. Now I'm going to break the numbers down a little bit. If you look at the actual year-to-date number, for facility rental versus budgeted, it's about $9,000. We budgeted 95. We're 600 off. If you look year over year, we're about $1,000 off. Food banquet. This is where, and as you go through it, when you delve into it, this is where we've been hurt the most this year, and this is where the biggest difference is coming is our food banquet, which actually will make sense when you go into the numbers and look at it with the averages for the rolling average as well as how it impacts us. And I'm going to show you that as we continue. The food regular, we're 505, we're budgeting 577, 72,000 off, but if you compare year over year, we're about $9,000 within year over year. Regular beverage, 317, budgeted 316, so we're pretty much a push for a budget. We made budget number there. We're slightly about $7,000 off last year. Banquet, beverage banquet, 43, almost 44, 55 is what we budgeted, so we're $11,000 off there. We're about 7 off last year, 7,500 off last year. Just I'm trying to give you a year-over-year comparison. The other thing I want to make sure that we point out, last year's number for our revenues were the highest they'd ever been. Remember, we tracked that. We were showing that. The numbers were way up. So what I did was go back and look at the past 5 years for an average, okay, based on the information that was circulated, i.e. one of the board members sent and say, hey, look at this snapshot for October. I stretched out over a period of time to look at a 5-year average because I thought that was an important thing as a comparative number, and I'll get you that analysis. Okay, the expenses. Little bit different than the sheet that you have, the operational sheet, and the reason I did it different because, if you know, and we've been doing it this way for years, you have your revenue, your cost, and then your expenses. Well, cost is an expense. So what I did was put them all on one sheet just for ease of, you can see it. Food banquet, 31, 54, we're 23 behind. Year over year, 45, we're 14 off of last year with food banquet. Regular food, 234, we had budgeted 260, so we're 25 off of that number. Last year at 234, we're spot on last year's number. What we did was take last year, when you're budgeting, you always try to make a slight improvement. So we hit pretty much where we were with food regular. Beverage regular, 77. 79 is where we budgeted. We're about $2,000 off of that. And we're about 5,400, 5,500 below last year. Beverage banquet, 11. 13.7 is where we're hoping to be. We're about 2,800 off of that number. And we're within 2,400 of last year. So then we're looking at wages, 23 off of what our wage number was, pretty much where we were last year. Services, bottom line, we're approximately $50,000 difference from last year and 77 off of our budget right now.
And took that 5-year rolling average back.
I'm going to show you how that works out. It's in your book. Okay, so revenue, year-to-date budgeted, so 177 off. We're 80 off from last year. Expenses were 77 better than we expected to be. We've actually made that improvement. Bottom line, about $100,000 off of budget. And when you look at last year, we're about 30 at this time. Now, I went a step further in analyzing these. Again, these are where some of the things that actually put the numbers in perspective. 2002 revenues are about 7.4% less than 2011. So we're at and again, trying to do year-over-year comparisons. So we did $1 million this year, 126 versus $1,080,000, a decrease of about 80,000 last year for the 6 month. This year's 6 month time frame. Of the approximate 80,000 decrease, 80% is related to banquet business and only 20 to regular business. The reason that's important, if you recall, the whole referendum, everything we talked about, building failing, problems with the building, you would equate that we would have banquet business falling off. Banquet business is not booked today for tomorrow, it's booked today for well in the future. Well, if you're uncertain of how you're going to use the building, what it's going to be used for, or that it's under referendum, you're not booking your wedding. You're not booking your long-term events. So as that was going on, we knew banquet business was going to fall off. So that's where we believe the biggest difference is. And if you look at the numbers, they tell you that. And again, not just 1 month. You have to look at year over year and look at how we perform. 2002 revenues are 1.8% higher than the 6-year average. The reason I'm using a 6-year average, we all got an email from one of the board members, here's these months to review, October to October, it was emailed. So I said, all right, well, let's stretch that out, not just look at the snapshot for October, let's actually see what the average is over that time period. Again, trying to make sure I analyze it correctly. This is where the number, we're 1.8% higher than the 6-year average, which did include 11, which was the largest year we had had. That year was almost 30% higher. This is all in it's in your materials. 2012 net loss of 19,000 compares to the positive of a 10.4 same time last year. Difference of $29,000 year over year. The majority of that actually comes into the banquet business. And you all know, and we've talked about it a whole lot with when we're going through the referendum process, banquet business is where you make more money off of banquet business than you do a la carte. So if you actually break down the numbers, you'll see our bottom line, we're hurt because of our banquet business, but part of that has to be expected based on the fact we're tearing the building down and building something new. Questions about the yacht club?
Yeah, one.
Yes, sir.
Are we booking for the new building?
We,
banquet business?
I don't want to tell you yes or no. I'd be making it up. I didn't ask Dave that. I know people have been calling about it, but we don't have it.
I've heard interest on the street
Yes.
in terms of I'd like to book build all tonight.
Well, part of the challenge is the construction timeline,
Understand?
and that's why I just don't have hard down yet. We'll know a lot more in the next 2 months. We'll be able to put our timeline down much tighter to be able to offer. We're getting a lot of calls about it. We just can't do anything about it right now. I don't want to tell someone they can book a wedding in September and not have a building ready for them. That would just be all.
Yeah, but we've got to do a better job, but if the old building is going to be usable and be open and operating while the construction of the new building is going on, we know that that's going to happen. Most people out there don't do. I think we have to do a better job of advertising the fact that business as usual till what, about 60 days before, or 30 days before?
But we're looking, I don't want to commit one way or the other. We've had other factors, and you had mentioned the pool that we've had some damage to, and we're analyzing that. And we're going to talk about that and how it may impact us. Well, I just can't commit one way or the other until we fully get the engineering report back on that, and I'll share that information with you coming up. Yeah.
On the club numbers. I study these numbers tight and hard as anybody, and you have just confused me to death. I mean, this is, I don't get it. I think it's important for directors to know that this time, right now, we're at minus 19,160 at the end of the first half, right? Okay? We can all agree on that. We're minus 19,160. In 2010, we were at a plus 94,799. In 2009, we were at plus 97,918. So we can talk about how good things are and how close we are, and it's the banquet business, and it's the dog ate my homework. This is a horrible number. How much?
All right, you're using that number. Tell me how much banquet business we had in 7, 8, 9, 10 in comparison.
I can tell you in October.
But that, see, again, you're taking 1 month on.
I can give you any number that you want. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about the bottom line. You lost $19,160 in the first 6 months of the year. Last year, you were at 10,473, an improvement of 30. So you've gone down 30. The year before that, you were at 94,799, so you're down 114,000.
And you don't care what's driving. You don't care what's driving that.
I know what's driving it. Lack of sales.
Banquet business.
Hello.
I've said banquet business.
You can blame it on anything you want. It's lack of sales. You know, if you need to sell.
All right, let's think about this for a minute. Okay? No. You want to make fun and think it's a game.
I'm not making fun of it.
Let me explain something.
I don't think it's fun.
We have a product. We have a. I'm sorry.
Marty's got to say, please.
Are you participating in this, sir?
No, but I want to listen to what Marty has to say. Keep going.
Okay. Here's what the issue is. When you're looking at the business model, when you're looking at, okay, we have a food and beverage service there. What type of service do we offer? A la carte business and banquet business. And then you have to start looking at what our history is with each of those type of businesses. You have all the reports. I mean, you go through them in great detail. We've said for 2 years the building's failing, it's falling apart. So despite whoever's managing it, whether it was prior management, current management from our yacht club, they're going to have a challenge when in 3 years, almost 4 years now, and Marty, you and I served on the board at that time, we said we're going to close down or we're going to renovate, which is going to shut business down. From that time, those discussions were occurring. We've seen a decline in the banquet business. Last year, we drove very, very hard through the season in pushing it as a corporate initiative, Ocean Pines Association, driving business back up. We talked about month after month. We drove the revenues back up. What we didn't do was manage the expenses very well. This year, we're managing expenses better, but our banquet business is continuing to slide. This is not difficult when you have a failing building, which is where we're driving the business, and banquet business is the most lucrative between a la carte and banquet business. You're going to see a decline in it.
And let's call a decline and not talk about how close we are, how great we feel it. A decline is a decline. We're off. In 2 years, $114,000.
So somebody's going
Yeah. Difficult I have. I mean, I've been on like true. We and Rick said we were going to renovate the yacht club. Rick, there. Rick, not except like whether we change our mind when we say, hey, you know, hurry up and do the best you can. You really do a great job. Okay, that reason went away quite a few years. Back. Not really. And at the same time, perfect storm, expenses were really losing big stuff. All right, it's history. I don't care. But my concern is what you're saying may be true. Maybe it's because you got so may be true. And it may not be true. Maybe that bank business in general is fine. And the nature of the banquets that are being held are it may be you don't have and haven't any guarantee. And you know, you want to refer back to someone, you know, getting referendum. Refer back to that. The thing that was said loudest and clearest of the Ocean Pines, the reason we got this bill is because of bank, because we believe the bank business carry yacht club, make us a profit. And you know what? I don't have any confidence at all. I mean, nothing you said gives us any confidence at all. That's really nice. Now, of course, it's too late now, but it's bothersome. You know, we don't know what the truth is about what's going to happen. Sure, right?
Yes, Terry.
I would just say personally that if I had a daughter that was going to get married and need to have her reception there, and I walked into the yacht club, as opposed to some other facilities for that amount of money, I think twice. Because it, 2 years later, looks a lot older, a lot more decrepit than it did 2 years ago. And I think it is partially the economy, because you're spending money more carefully. So, you know, I think if you have a new building that's modern and can be efficient, I would choose that building over something else.
Well, the other question I would have, yes, you know, this may be complicated. I mean, by the way, Terry, I'm sorry, but I agree with you, but we just don't know.
That's true. We don't know.
And the other thing, I mean, I have the question is, okay, banquet business like that. Is there no way to adjust expenses so that they don't use that and take up some of the loss? Why are the, I mean, you're saying, well, you lowered expense, but not nearly enough. I mean, take away that loss of revenue. I don't, you know.
In 2011, you had the best banquet food sale in the last 6 years. The best.
And food and beverage, regular.
You're talking banquet, I'm talking banquet. 51,372.
Yes.
This year, you were only off 72%.
And the bank.
What happened? Building fell down and nobody told me? I mean, I've been over.
Come on. You know, for 15 months of the last 2 years, everything over at the yacht club and the past couple of boards have gone in there and just said, well, let's shut it down. The indecision that have been come from the board of directors as well as management over the last couple of years has shown the community that we don't know what's going to happen. And she's exactly right. Ms. Terry is exactly right. If you're going to look long term that you want to book the place for a wedding or anything else, is it going to be there? What's it going to look like? And I don't think any of that's going to improve until the bricks are being put up on the new yacht. That's when the new marketing plan will go into effect, and I am confident in the future it's going to make a difference.
I've heard at every meeting for the last, since I've been reelected to the board, things are turning around and getting better. Bull.
Okay.
Numbers one, you're right.
Okay, let's take any more on the yacht club.
I would like to see
The next, we took the quarterly forecast. It's in your book, and we took it to the worst extreme. We felt we were extremely conservative. What we did was take the projected numbers. You're going to find, bottom line, for those that might not be able to see it there, it's 407 in red. This is the biggest part that's kind of grabbing me right now is the golf operation. I'm trying to figure out, you have that. I mean, you've seen it in the books. We really held the line in areas already. I mean, we're showing positive variances in the top 4 or 5 there. When we start to get into aquatics, we know this is time of year where we're feeling the crunch, and that's why I said when we're doing it, I tracked the first 6 months. We're going to continue to try to make some improvements there. What we did was, when we looked at the aquatics numbers, we assumed that our swim classes were not going to make improvements, so I could give as accurate from a negative side as possible. We think we can make some improvements here, but I don't want anybody to be surprised. It's going to be a lot of push-ups. So, biggest thing I'm trying to figure out how to make up a gap of is in our golf operations. It wasn't quite where we needed them to be. And we're working on some plans on that. I do want to share some things with you from golf. We have a couple things going on.
Bob, could you hang on for a second?
Yes, sir.
When you say quarterly forecast, what quarter?
It's actually, this is through this quarter, but it's projecting for the rest of the year. It's the projection forward till the end of the budget year. That's what the forecast would be.
All right, say something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah, it's the quarterly forecast per the bylaws that I'm giving you. If we track numbers based on performance last year, performance the year before, and we're looking at what we're doing now in these areas, what it would be. Unfortunately, golf, there's no way I can make up any golf.
So you're forecasting through April 30, 2030.
Correct, through the year end. Yes. Now, with golf in particular, this does not resolve the golf issue, but we're already, obviously you all know we're working through we're in the budget process right now. These are some documents I'm going to give to you. I'm not going to go into great detail on these. These are the first steps as we're analyzing where we kind of missed the boat with golf this year. And it's a month-to-month breakdown, okay, of what actually occurred. The second document, green document, is from a regional standpoint, where golf has been. So we have a benchmark to compare it to. But I thought, the only way we're going to get this turned around is really take a hard look at the numbers and where they were month to month. Okay, we're going to we'll talk a lot more about that in the coming months. We have a marketing plan that's being constructed with Casper. I have them scheduled to come in. We have a board meeting on the 9th already scheduled of January. I've asked them.
Presentation.
Yeah, and what I've asked them to do is either come in 8th or the 9th. I want to get what you all want to do, because I've had several board members say they'd like to speak directly to Casper, so I've asked their senior folks to come in and talk to us about their golf plan. We're already working through it. We're already doing the budget, but I've asked them to come in. I identified those 2 dates, and they made their schedule available. I needed to know from you all, either day, do you want to do it the same day where we are at the scheduled meeting, have to start with them? Do you want to do it the day before? It's really up to you all. And you can either get back to me in the next few days, or we can decide now. January.
January 9th at 3 o'clock is time set aside. I'll present his to the live presentation. I don't know about you folks, but I would prefer to have Casper if they. This is not going to be a 1 hour meeting.
No, it's not. It needs time. I also suggest, and I'll add, is that board members buy specific Casper in advance, and such that we're not just going to see a free. But, say
want Q&A,
Yeah.
so they can be prepared for the meeting.
Yeah, our question.
Yeah, absolutely. I've already talked to them about scheduling it in. We didn't have a board meeting in December, so I asked them the first week or so in January, knowing we had the 9th, I just, the 8th and 9th leave open. So if that works with you all, if you want to do the 8th? Yes, sir.
And time on the
Well,
8th.
well, before you get on, let's talk about what we're going to do. We're going to get your budget tonight. So what is Casper going to talk about? What are they going to, I mean, they're coming in here just to answer questions. Here to tell us that in conjunction with you, they feel here's the program is going to work here, or what?
No, it's a good question. I have had several board members request back they'd like to talk directly with Casper.
Our contract. That's why I'd like.
Okay,
Well,
again, I'm not identifying anybody.
No, you're not, Dan.
I'm just trying to get.
I'm trying to answer your question. So, and what I'll do, to Mr. Stevens' point, if you all want to get questions put together, I can send it all to him. I'll send it directly to Joel. Say, Joel, here are the things that the board is looking to have clear answers on. In addition, they're already, the marketing plan, they're already working on the budget, obviously. Those things are being prepared now. I gave you some of the historical data, so you would be where we are, at least where I am, as we're looking through this. So you had the information I had as we're developing, as we're looking at what it looks like moving forward, because we've got to turn that around next season. There's a lot of things impacted it, and there's going to be a lot of excuses one way or the other. We went through the migration. I mean, I can go through step by step, but we're where we are right now. We've got to find a way to stem that tide. I've asked them to come in and talk to you. They're putting their plan together to do so, and I think answer any specific questions you have, I'll certainly get them to.
But the risk of going out of normal standard for me, to start off with, how in the world would we have a $1.2 million budget, and now we're $350,000 behind that budget? It was their budget. They didn't start with that. Sorry if I sound like one of a board member, but I'm as ticked off as I've ever been.
Oh, it's okay. Donation.
Do you have enough time from the response Casper's would be answering questions that we present or their comments for you to adjust what you need to say? What I'm saying is the 8th and the 9th.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys have a couple. I'll present the budget, and the 9th, I give you the budget that we've developed. Then we go, there's 3 weeks of reiteration with the budget changes, observations.
Just want to be sure you had enough time.
Yeah, oh yeah, because you guys are going to make changes to it, and we'll have ample time to do so. If we don't like what we've heard, if we need to make a change, it's part of that next 3 weeks.
Okay, this question doesn't sound germane, and you may be addressing it later on for it, but it is germane. But sure is, where do we stand and when do we start on what's already been approved in terms of back-night greens and local training?
I was going to give that to you in the project section, but
we're dealing with money here and that direct impacts what's going to happen. Direct. You're taking 50% of the golf course off the line.
Well, that's why we've fussed up the amount of loss. That's why it's such a large number.
Right.
We just figured starting December 1, we took it offline for 9 months, for the 4-month period. Actually, we took December, January, February, March, April, 5 months out of it. Worst case scenario. Yes, and that's why the projection's so high. Example: the intent is to start on. They're mobilizing some equipment this week. They'll be here Thursday and Friday. You'll start seeing the parking lot there. They're going to start on Kyle, who was the foreman that led the front 9 green restoration. Kyle's going to lead the group again. He and a part of the group being Monday, their intent is to start on green 11 as part of the project and only work there initially and use the 19th hole as the alternative green as their first step in their process. So there's some thought into the timing of it to keep it open as long as we can. I did my forecast based on close, no revenue. Had to. I mean, again, it had to go worst case scenario. We can make improvements, we'll make the improvements.
Just so I can, I'm really just trying to get this all straight in my mind. invest $900,000 after the second phase, and minus let's say how much we collect on this.
Approximately 250.
250, yeah, 250. So 900 minus 2. And that's 6. And we've also invested another 540,000. So we're up over
$1.5 million.
$1 million. Yeah, and the 250 that we subtracted out for the memberships are basically going to reduce our membership income forever. I mean, 5 out, 9, something like that. And having done all that, made an investment, we are now looking at an operational cost of $500,000. Now, okay, those are all just facts, but I just don't. I mean, I can't get my hands around how we're going to fall out of that hole. Ever. And that's, I tell you what, if Castle comes in, maybe I'll learn more by before then, but that's what I have to ask. How do you think possibly, and how much more investment do you think you need to make the golf course? I mean, how much, you're a manager, what do you need more money from us to be able to make some reasonable operation? It's beyond, my comprehension. Okay, Bob. Anyway, I just wanted to.
That's why I'm having
but you're not. At least you're not saying no. I mean, you're saying yes, it's yes. So we know what it is. Now we got to see what we can do about it.
We talk about blame, excuses. I don't care. The buck stops right here, guys. It's us. We can delegate authority all day long. We're responsible for this mess. And I like to sum things up by just going from point A to point B to point C. 2010, at this point in time, year-to-date actual, we were plus 160. Okay? But the golf course was in such terrible condition, we had to spend $1 million this year to fix it up, to increase revenues. And one director even mentioned the word profit. So we finished 2011 at the same point in time, first 6 months, we're at a plus 8,996. That's a swing of $152,000 in the wrong direction, guys. But don't worry, this Greens program will swing that around, no problem. 2012, we're at minus 135, 435. That's an additional $143,000 swing. Guys, we're responsible for 116% difference in 1 year. That's not possible in business. I mean, unless you're selling balloons and you let go of the string. It's just not possible.
Okay,
We need to face it.
Can we set a time for the meeting?
Yeah, let's set a time for the meeting on the 8th. 1 o'clock?
Yes.
1 o'clock?
1 o'clock is perfect.
All right, 1 o'clock.
It's Tuesday. Tuesday the 8th.
Tuesday, January 8th, 1 o'clock.
Where? Haven't decided.
Probably, haven't decided that yet.
That's
I
right.
am
Keep it organized, Dave.
I am all taken.
What was that behavior between two
Keep organized, but we got our calendars out.
Oh, boy.
All right, let me cover
keep
some
going,
other
Bob.
some active projects right now. Just to give you a quick update on our tennis, our golf greens, golf drainage, yacht club, road resurfacing. Golf course we already talked about. Work that's being accomplished. Folks are already moving in the end of the week. They'll get started on Monday. Quick update on Hurricane Sandy. Just want to give you guys an update on some of the damage that occurred. Two primary things. One was we had a tree fall on one of our public works trucks when they were out clearing the road, Castle Road. No one was hurt, but there was damage to the truck. And we also had our yacht club pool that incurred damage. I'm going to show you some pictures on that. We had a tree that was on the golf course that fell over, and the top of the tree, I'm going to show you a picture of that, landed on a member's house. Again, no injuries in any of these cases. In addition to that, with the hurricane effort, we had approximately $7,500 in additional costs with overtime, working through the weekend, with staff on and those type of things. No, it actually worked out. I mean, we
We
were.
have a lot of volunteers too.
Hey, Bob,
Yes, sir.
having said a nice thing, sort of.
Sort of.
I'm just going to poke this in now, and then I'm going to let it go because it'll still be modest. It's easy. That I heard at least 4 different people ask me questions about, as to do it. What's up? What happened? Why wasn't the board notified that we had a major problem? An email that was saying, board, the pool fell in. Board is serious. I mean, where is that? I mean, did anybody here get that email, or did you find out the same way I did at A Bagel or something? I mean, come on. I mean, those are significant things that we ought to know about.
Agreed.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, the other piece was that towards the end of it was a hurricane relief effort. A lot of people worked real hard. The community really responded to echo Tom Perry's comments. The community really stepped up. Where it started from was we had a lot of people calling, either that didn't live here, full time, they had their house here, or residents that were calling immediately after, what can we do to help clean the community up? And that's what it started with, was the drive from the community to help take care of our community. Yes.
Sorry, maybe I fell asleep. Did we just go right past the Aqua Pool?
We did, but I'm going to cover it.
He's coming back. He's coming back.
Coming back.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's coming back.
I'm going to show you pics. I'll show you pictures of it. No, pictures are help clarify where it is. With the Yacht Club Pool, there's some things we've done. The insurance company's been out. We're not sure if it's going to be covered yet. We're waiting on final decision on that, based on the policy, based on the storm surge. Again, insurance, you have to kind of meander through that one to get the final decision there. We have an engineer that's gone out to take a look at it to see the damage, to see whether it's repaired or recommendation replaced. Get the pics up for you. All right, let me talk about the tree first. The tree fell, hit the gentleman's house. You see where the hole, and what happened, most of the trees that went down were the big oak tree. The ones, because the roots don't, a pine tree has a root that goes down in the center. The oak trees kind of spread out. And as the wind gusts were whipping through is when we started having a lot of our trees go over. We had over 30 trees cross our roadways. Most people don't know that. We had most cleaned up in the first 15 or 20 minutes of the work. And this is what the inside of his house and his kitchen area. So it's an insurance issue. This was hard to see. I tried to get pics. The trees fell from this side. It was a clump of them, just like the last one, hit the truck, came across the truck. Fortunately, the wind gust occurred. The guy was already in the truck. He was already getting ready to move the truck, so he just stomped on reverse, so he didn't get the brunt of it. It was the top part, and what it did was knock a mirror off, dented the front quarter panel, and dented the roof. Again, it's a $500 impact to us from an insurance standpoint. Yacht Club Pool. Okay. The pool, I'm going to zoom in a second, but basically what happened with the storm surge where the water came up, it got under the relief valves kicked on, which when you get water under the valves open up, the water starts to fill inside the pool. But because there was such a significant storm surge, the whole thing got lifted. A couple of zoom ins here. It did. And one end of it, it's tilted now. The whole thing's tilted. And this was kind of the best shot. I'll try to get one closer for you. It shows where the pool actually lifted away and tilted with the surge underneath. It washed out dirt under the pool. There was damage under as well as around the pool.
There was no water in them.
Correct.
We winterize our pools in the winter. We don't leave water in spite of that being manufacturer's recommendation.
It's not manufacturer's recommendation, no, sir.
All the other beach communities.
That's not an accurate statement. We've checked. That's not accurate.
I'll say I have material.
And you would be wrong. There's no recommendation to say whether the pool does or doesn't have to be full. There isn't. Now, think about this for a minute. We drain our pools specifically. We've done both, by the way, over the years. We've had them full, we've had them drained, we've had them full, we've had them drained. I look back at our history. Think about this. Some of our facilities, we're not by maybe once a week just to check on when they're closed. Some of the, they have fencing around them. We have skateboarders, kids, fences. If no one's around, people can climb fences easily. I believe it's a hazard to have full pools that no one's going to see with some of the skateboarders and the things kids do. Have a kid fall into mucky water like that, I think we're better dumping the pools. So again, we checked it. We checked with different pool companies in the area, tell you different things. But there's no standard in the industry. We couldn't find one. We looked at it before we made the decision to keep our pools drained, and the safety issue overrode any other concerns.
That one has to be empty, especially on this west end, because every year they have delamination at the bottom that's been repaired where there's 20 spots this big that's been laminated.
Yeah, the repairs we've done over the last few years aren't working. The process that used just doesn't work. We were going to have to redo the bottom of several of our pools anyway. And again, we covered them last year, so you're correct with that.
Where we stand with this pool right now is we don't.
Everything I'm seeing so far does not appear as covered by insurance.
So far, it looks like we're not.
It does. It looks like we would not be covered by insurance based on the incident.
Definitive yet.
No, we've got an initial report they're looking at. We have multiple policies. We've got to look at our flood insurance. We have to look at our insurance on the property. There's multiple policies to look at. It does not appear, I say appear, until I get it all finalized, and I'll bring it, get it to you all. It does not appear it'll be covered. The insurance companies looked at. We have an engineer going out because when the pool lifts, it does have a crack on one side of it. So the question comes in, is it better to repair when it's lifted off with the connections? You're going to have to get under it. You can't just push it back down. Some of the pipe connections either come off or come loose. So all that has to go into it. And when you're looking at a pool of this age, I'm trying to get all the facts so I can circulate and go, okay, here's exactly where we are. Here's the insurance, whether we're covered or not. Here's the engineering reports. Here's the cost to cure, whether we fix. Here's the cost to cure, whether we replace. And I'll have all that hopefully in the next couple of weeks for you. Yeah, I'll circulate email, put in your box.
I know you had contractors out there 1 week or so ago. I mean, here's my concern. I don't want, as a director, to get a emergency bell ringing that, we can't get the pool open by Memorial Day unless we take this contract right now and one bid emergency repair. We're trying our best to avoid that. Or is it impossible to even think this will be open?
I'm not making any prediction. Next couple of weeks, I'll know a lot more.
May not be perfect because of once you wash away what was under its pool over the years, trying to replace that underneath is going to be the difference.
Obviously, our goal would get it back in play as early, in the season as humanly possible. So that will be obviously a focus. That's a heavily used pool. We got to figure out. I hate to lose that pool for even a day in the season. So we are going to do everything we can. I just can't promise you what I'm going to get. I mean,
we don't know.
No, I mean we're working. We've been working for 2 weeks trying to get it straight, get the exact facts, and then be able to bring it. A lot of people had a lot more damage than we did. So insurance claims, everything else, just run a little slow right. Yes, ma'am.
I understand the aquatics committee that I attended that these pools are all approximately 40 years old. And they're probably all getting close to the point they licensing. As much as I hate to say it, it might be a blessing. It might place the whole thing, but you're going to come up with that information and your recommendations, and I appreciate it. It's a gunite pool, I understand, isn't it?
Yes.
So that even makes it more complex structure, what I understand. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I'll appreciate what you find out.
Just amongst us kids up here, we're going to replace the pool, insured or not insured. Is that correct? Just between us, we're going to do what's necessary. We're not going to just whistle down fast.
I don't intend to whistle down.
No, we're going to have to fix the pool. Why don't we drive forward with that in our mind, and insurance will either pay or it won't pay. I mean, right or am I wrong? I mean,
For budget reasons for next year, yeah, you're right.
Well, this will actually impact this year's budget.
This year's budget doesn't matter. But I think what Marty's saying